Hi, everybody. Luke Moore, Pete Donaldson, Jim Campbell, Marcus Speller in your ears. It's the Football Ramble.
The original crew.
Well, it's not, is it?
No.
Slightly tweaked.
To all
But I think
intents
it's
and
the
purposes.
best one.
Yeah, the classic lineup.
That's a bit like saying,
I improved it. I was like in Black Panther and made all of the entire franchise better.
I mean,
That's how you start
That's
off.
the comparison you want, is it?
Yeah.
When you say that's not the original crew, it's a bit like saying, whoa, Ringo's not in the original crew.
Yeah.
Well, you are.
How?
And you are
dare you?
speaking very much like the Ringo of this Fab Four, so that's fair enough. Let's open with Manchester City are not an improving side.
Brighton and Hove Albion were
Standards have
beaten
slipped.
4-1. It was, they were predictable, but nonetheless impressive scenes down on the south coast. But the day belonged to Bruno.
Yeah, yeah.
Playing in the Prem
He
at
got what
38.
send-off he got.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
mean feat. Playing the playoff at 38, Jimbo. He said in his goodbye speech, once a seagull, always a seagull.
That's very nice.
Presumably then he went off to
To the beach.
eat
to
some
sniff
chips that had
everyone's
been
chips
fallen on the
and
floor.
Keep everyone in Brighton awake.
Exactly, yeah. Was there anything else from the game, Jimmy, you took?
Jeff Shreves, actually.
Right. Oh,
Yeah, because Jeff Shreves interviewed Bruno and also Vincent Kompany, and at the end of both interviews, he went, "Go on then, go and join in the celebrations."
Well, thanks, Jeff.
That's not your decision to make, sir.
Yeah,
Jeff.
would
Go
that
away.
put a dampener on it for you if
I'd retire there and then.
Yeah, you've been a part of. People are saying the greatest side in the Prem's history. Difficult to say.
What, Sky
top
Sports?
98 points and all the rest of it. And when you win the league and you captain the side like Vincent Kompany, scored a brilliant goal the other week and given goal of the season and whatnot, you then get to explain that in a moment with Jeff Shreves.
Yeah,
Would that put the dampener on it?
It would be like I don't know.
Harvey Weinstein handing you a golden.
It'd be like having ice cream full of glass for dessert.
But I like the idea that they sit around before the game.
That'd be an Oscar, sorry.
And Pep says, right, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan. You play how you're going to play. You've got a good chance of winning this game, etc., etc. Right, thanks, guys. Do you want to go and take 10 minutes to get yourself ready? And before the siren comes along to usher them out into the tunnel. But among themselves, they say, right, who hasn't done Jeff Shreves this season? Because one of you's got to do it.
It's like rotating
Otherwise,
fouls,
you get
isn't
a
it?
fine.
Yeah,
It's written in a contract if you're a captain of a Premier League side. Right, as a captain, you've got to be a bit more of an ambassador role.
I imagine whoever takes that responsibility gets a little bonus.
Yeah,
Little
Riyadh-
bonus
Well,
at the end of the
maybe.
season.
I think it's written in.
Riyadh, you haven't been in the starting lineup for a while. So I think it's about time
Yeah.
you did it. All right, but if I score, can I get out of it?
Yeah. All right. Maybe that's the motivation they have. Every club should be doing that.
Yeah.
It would get a lot of people out of it, I think. But yes, Man City, they're champions, 98 points, nearly reaching their record-breaking tally of 100 from last season.
Not an improving team.
On the way in, on the slide.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say they were because last season there was no title challenger anywhere near
No,
them.
they've been fantastic. Both teams have been absolutely fantastic, and to credit Liverpool for taking it to the final day, and they're giving us something to shout about on Sunday. They've been brilliant. I mean, 97 points is incredible. But Man,
Such a signal.
put it in perspective. I don't think Man City have dropped a Premier League point for over 2 months.
Well, and that's
down the
isn't it?
stretch.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, it's mad to think that Liverpool was 7 points ahead at one point.
Yeah.
But I in a lot of cases, I think that would be used against the team that went on to not win the title. But as you say, not dropping a point for 2 months, and Liverpool keeping right up there with them, like this. What else could they have done? They've just thrown everything at it, and they've been brilliant along the way as well. I think they've actually been better to watch.
And the scenes weren't as emotional Anfield as perhaps you'd expect, were they? They
No.
were they felt a bit more like they were ones of respect. I suppose the fact they've got a Champions League final,
They've got a potential pick-me-up just around the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the Champions League final does take the edge off them coming second, but also I think those fans. To imagine if they were booed off at Anfield on the last day. It'd been absolutely ridiculous. I think the Liverpool fans realise they've had a brilliant time this season. It's been phenomenal, and it is by the finest of margins that they have lost. I mean, they've been unofficially crowned by many people as the best second place team in the Premier League's history,
Well,
which
I
I
mean,
think is
yeah.
disrespectful to Keegan's entertainers personally.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean,
rude.
but you know,
Not getting it right,
people
right,
are
aren't we?
often disrespectful to them, aren't they? Sort of part of the charm of them.
But Brighton really crystallised how difficult it is to get a result against City. I mean, they obviously pop up with that goal from a corner from old reliable Glenn Murray.
Well, for around 20 minutes, the title was going to
Yeah.
Anfield.
Yeah, it was.
people,
Did you
they
ever
had a
believe
couple
it?
of shots. They had one shot, and I was like, that was not far away. If they'd piled that in,
Oh, well, just
they would
before
have lost
half-time.
6-2.
I never believed it.
No,
didn't trust
I
it.
didn't
It was
either.
it
Felt like a
happened too
false
early.
dawn, didn't it?
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, looking at the stats very quickly, Man City had over 76% possession, and that meant, of course, Brighton had just under 24%. So straight away, it's very, very difficult to have any sort
The
of impact
Leicester
on the
game was the one.
but if you factor in the areas of the pitch they have the ball in,
Yeah.
I mean, it's even harder. So it's almost, it's not impossible because, of course, nothing's impossible, but it's very, very, very difficult.
The only thing is if Brighton were needing a point, but even then, you wouldn't have given them much of a chance. But it was the Leicester game, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That really that was the one, and because it took that company goal, and it again. But I think what's been intriguing for the neutral, from where we're all sitting on this, the last sort of a handful of games where I've been saying, Rodgers' revenge and all this tosh. It took that company goal. And then Iheanacho has a chance, which he might do better on another day. Before that, was it Burnley before that? Or certainly, well, it was before that game. I forget which.
They're Burnley away. They won 1-0.
Again, the 11 centimetres or whatever it was over the line. But
it's
a goal. I mean, it's a goal, by the way. I'm not complaining.
I think, funnily enough, John Stones' clearance off the line against Liverpool was 11 centimetres as well.
Oh, but you're going way further back there. I'm talking about the microclimate of the last handful of games of the season.
But what I mean is, I think on a larger scale, you can actually apply that to the entire season because the standards of both has been so close that you have to do that to find anything between them. And what a testament to both of those teams.
Yeah. And I think I was more impressed with Liverpool's end to the season than I was at Manchester City, because Manchester City were kind of edging out games. They were scoring early and just shutting up shop a little bit. And as you say, there were some very close calls when it came to goals being cleared off the line and Iheanacho and stuff like that.
I thought
Liverpool were hardworking. They did exactly what they needed to do. But it was just, it's just those margins so small, like you say.
I know what you mean. I think the best team has won the league. It tends to be the case. But I think Manchester City, with their resources, with the depth they have in that squad, is just.
Where can you? I mean, where can you go? I mean, the fact is that they've got 1 point more than Liverpool, and so they have won the Premier League. I mean, that we all know that. You look at some of the numbers being posted. I mean, Liverpool lost one game all season.
I know.
But then, having said that, Man City won 32 out of 38 Premier League games.
Yep.
And so
equalled their record of last season.
Yeah, where can you? It's hard to know where to go to keep up with that.
What was really telling as well with the trophy presentation yesterday was the backroom staff coming out, and there being 26 of them. Now we know that obviously they have a lot of backroom staff and a lot of specialists, and as we said on the show last week, Pep Guardiola is basically managing a team that manages a team. But it really puts it into stark contrast to what other teams are working with. I don't know what it's like at Liverpool. I can't imagine it's that different. But obviously, City are the high end of everything, and that is what a sort of peek under the bonnet of what makes a team tick.
Went on for ages, didn't it?
Did you enjoy Yaya Toure's reception?
Yes, I did. Actually,
they love him, don't they?
Yeah.
I think it's great.
But
then he announced that he was still
hungry for it.
Hungry for it because his agent
hungry for cake.
You know what he's done though? He's down in Brighton. It's a lovely day.
Oh, yes.
Someone's get their trophy. He thinks, I quite fancy a bit of this.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about the trips in the middle of December when it's absolutely pissing it down.
He's seen some of the seafront properties there and he goes, I mean, these are lovely, actually.
Nice
he's got the Great Escape to watch some indie bands.
Brighton Fringe was on. He probably popped down.
Enjoyed your comedy.
Did he? Did you
was
guys?
Actually quite rude.
Did you guys think it was weird to see? I know it's happened before, but it doesn't seem to happen that often, at least in my mind. It's weird to see a different stadium have to make all these preparations and do all the announcements for the Man City. And because I think didn't they have the Man City announcer for it?
Right.
He sounded like
that
him
would make
anyway.
sense. That would make sense. Well,
mine's from the Brighton goal. I want extra for this. This is another 2 hours work.
I had the fortune or misfortune, depending on what side of the fence you fall down on, of interviewing Terry Butcher once. And it's fair to say that he is somewhat fueled by hatred of Maradona and certain things in the past. But anyway, talking of that kind of stuff, there was an amazing finish to a title race years ago. I mean, it sounds ridiculous even mentioning it now with Celtic's dominance, but when Rangers pipped Celtic on the last day, and Celtic, I think they may have just needed a point away to Motherwell. Sorry to be sidetracked, but talking about stadium preparations there. And one of the things that motivated Butcher, one of the many things that motivated Butcher, who was Motherwell manager at the time, was it was at Fir Park at Motherwell's ground. And I think the SFA turned up
with all this stuff
a few days before and said, right, okay, so when Celtic win the league, this is what we're going to do. And he was like, well, hang on, we've still got a game of football here to play. And they basically just went, yeah, okay, mate, yeah. And he was like, how was happening in my office? They were saying this. And Butcher was like, right. And then Motherwell scored 2 goals right at the end, which handed Rangers the title.
Well, that's absolutely fair enough for Butcher to be incandescent
said
about
he had
that.
a bruise on his inner arm because of the way he was thumping it, like giving the the whatsits to the.
I
Celtic
think it can be
fans.
both these things. He can be a complete bellend,
Yeah.
but he can also be absolutely fair enough on
But
that.
very
front.
professional
Yeah.
though, and that he said that was an enormous amount of motivation.
But wasn't
I
there a
bet it was.
conversation this year sort of about Celtic and Rangers? Should Rangers be giving Celtic a guard
Guard of
It's
honour,
like,
yeah.
If that's a thing that has suddenly sprung up that's something you have to do, then you have to bloody do it.
Well, you
know?
do.
It's
I
like-
think Manchester United gave Chelsea a guard of honour once at Old Trafford when Mourinho was down, and there was a bit of a kind of, do we have to do that kind of thing?
That
But
turned
they-
out. The Mourinho thing turned out all right in the end. Though,
I think
so.
so. Well, he demanded a guard of honour every week.
Should
But
we
anyway,
have-
back to the.
Should we have a
business.
mention of? I mean, because we all know Man City have been brilliant, and people listening aren't going to be short of everyone telling them how great Man City were.
But we still will get emails from people. You didn't talk about how good Man City were.
Yeah, he didn't talk
Talk about
about, it
that
enough.
Glenn Murray goal.
Yeah, like nipped in there, lovely. But what about Chris Hughton? News broke this morning.
Of
that he's lost
course,
his job. Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Hughton's been
sad.
sacked. You cannot be beaten 4-1 by Manchester City at home and keep your
No.
job. You just can't do it.
No, but enough about Man City though.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, 4.5 years roughly he was in charge of Brighton. It's a shame. There's no two ways about it. It's a shame. A long stint though. He got them up in the league,
Yeah.
and he's kept them up. What is it? 2 seasons or 2 or 3 seasons?
He
Forgive me.
cemented them as a Premier League.
Cement is
Well,
strong.
Yeah,
Cement is
all
strong.
right. It's
He's
cement.
blue tacked them into the Premier League.
It's
Not
dry.
even
rot.
Gorilla Glue.
There's a lot of dry rot. There's certain subsidence
Yes.
on one side of the house,
It's bungaroo.
but there's a foundation there.
Indeed.
Not a foundation, a foundation.
They were fortunate that Palace beat Cardiff away.
Mm.
They were very fortunate that happened. And Cardiff, that'll be the result that they rue, because obviously they went to Manchester United and won. We'll talk about that in a short while. But Brighton were fortunate that results went their way.
Well, as we've said before, we say this every season about some teams. They stayed up because there were 3 teams that were worse than them,
Yeah.
not because they were particularly
Yeah.
good. And I feel like it's probably the right time for them to make a change.
Second half of the season, they're really poor. I mean, Tony Bloom, the owner, of course, said in his statement, our run of 3 wins in 23 Premier League games put our status at significant risk. With that in mind and the performances during that period, I feel it's the right time for a change. Look, Hughton deserves a huge amount of credit and respect for what he's done, as you guys have already mentioned. But, it does seem odd in a way because they weren't relegated. If they were relegated on the final day, you'd be like, well, that's that.
But they dropped like a stone.
They have, and I did say a few weeks ago, didn't I, after that Bournemouth result, I thought, you know what, I wouldn't have been surprised if a statement had come out after that game.
Yep.
So clearly it was in the offing. I do think Chris will find another job fairly easily. I mean, he's got a great reputation.
Job
He's done a
swap
good
with
job.
Rafa.
He's brought 2 clubs up from the Championship, and that is a valuable skill.
Well, it is.
Absolutely,
The
yeah.
Warnock move.
Well, and he's proved but he has proved that he can keep a side in the Premier League.
But he's also, I mean, we should also mention that he has been given the ability to spend money as well.
Yeah, he
I
has.
mean, he's brought in handbacks for 17 million, I think, from the Eredivisie. He brought in Bissouma for about 15 from Lille. Of course, Bernardo came in, the left back, for 9 million. I mean, they spent a good amount of money for a club their size. I know Premier League is full of riches.
Down that end of the table.
Yeah, and so it's not really worked out. So maybe they feel they need to freshen it up. I do feel, I do feel sorry for him though. I mean, because obviously he's clearly a great guy and he's done a good job, which means I think he'll find another job.
Yeah.
But he'll always be in a weird way. It might turn out. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose his job and whatnot. But in a weird way, he'll always be remembered fondly by the Brighton fans because he kept them up, and he leaves his post. Obviously, he's been sacked according to reports. It's not been mutual consent. But he'll always be fondly remembered in Brighton now because of that. I would think. You would think that would be the case because if he'd have stayed on next season, I think they would drop in, and I think they would have found it even more difficult next season.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict, of course.
How do you look back? Just out of interest, how do you look back on? Sorry, how do you think? Just to change the subject, Liverpool will look back on this season because we haven't really mentioned them yet.
I think that. I think that they're gonna that the Champions League does help matters. If they win the Champions League, then it will be a lot of there'll be mass celebration and jubilation in Liverpool, as there should be. I still think that they had a 7-point lead. Like that still is in my mind actually, and I know that we were saying, oh, maybe they're better off in the chasing position. Well, as soon as they got into the chasing position, Manchester City won 14 out of 14.
Yeah.
I think they have to look at it philosophically because 97 points is a phenomenal tally. It's the 3rd best in the history of the Premier League.
And in any of the year would have won it.
Absolutely, they only lost
apart
one
from last
Apart
year.
from last year.
yeah, true. So you have to be a little bit philosophical, really, because I think it is harsh to go on about the 7 points. But if I was a Liverpool fan, I would think we did have a lead, and going away to Man City, it could have been 10 and whatnot. But again, I think it's a bit harsh
Yeah.
to kind of go on about.
But does
that.
it feel like the start of something? Because to me, that's
what
what
Klopp
comments
said.
Klopp made after. They do feel like they've got a really solid foundation. They're going to be in another Champions League final, of course.
Well, I think with Klopp, if you look at managers and they say, well, they can't change their philosophies and they work for a bit and then they kind of get a bit tired. Perhaps Mourinho's an obvious example and whatnot. Klopp has slightly changed, actually. It's been very impressive what he's done this season. Bringing in Van Dijk was crucial and the goalkeeper and whatnot. But they were gung-ho last season and they were great entertainment, but obviously they ran out of steam. They were nowhere near the title. Got the Champions League final.
They came very close. 24 points better than last season.
Exactly.
In terms of the gap.
You see the improvement. Well, they're back in the Champions League final. They're now favourites to win it. We'll see what happens there. And they were, a whisker of a whisker away from winning. So what Klopp has done is incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Changing that because they're still great to watch. They're still great entertainers and whatnot. But now they defensively are so good. And I know Van Dijk plays a huge part in that, but Klopp is ultimately the one who has brought that in. So that's why going on about the 7 points there. I think that one has to look at the bigger picture because it's a very exciting time at Anfield. You have to say
Absolutely, and I think the fact that they're 24 points better off by sort of curbing their attacking instincts a little bit, that speaks volumes to the intelligence that Klopp approaches the game with.
Well,
because
that's what we started the season talking about, didn't we? That they weren't scoring quite so many goals. Mo Salah wasn't really in such rude health, and obviously he hit pace eventually, but he has just transformed that team to a much more balanced, but still pressing team.
And the fullbacks particularly been brilliant. I mean, another assist. I think at least one more assist for
He got two.
Trent. Did he get two
I
yesterday?
think he did. I think he set a record, isn't he?
He'd be credited with the fact. I mean, he's got a right foot like Beckham in terms of
it's
crossing.
brilliant, isn't it?
He's phenomenal.
He absolutely is. I think he and probably Robertson as well would be wingers in any other generation, but I think they are a sign of how the fullback position has changed.
They've done so well. I think without question, if they don't win the Champions League final, without question, they're the best English clubs I've seen to not win anything. I mean,
it's be ridiculous.
Yeah, they are so good all over the
ridiculous.
pitch, and so it's just as we say before.
Again, disrespectful to Keegan's entertainers.
Yeah, we say it in the context of the Champions League that some of it depends on the draw, and only one team can win it. And we talk about trophies, or what's that guy ever won? What's that guy ever won? There aren't that many trophies around to be won, and so you can't always win them. So, but they deserve a huge amount of credit for what they've brought to English football this season. They've been magnificent. They've been great to watch as well.
Yeah. Van Dijk said, similar to what Klopp said a little while ago, that actually if City win the league, it's not the end of the world because if they feel that this is the start of something and this could be a golden period for them, and it absolutely could, and perhaps having City to aim at is a good thing for them overall.
Don't you think they've got more personality about them to watch? I love watching Man City, but they're a bit more machine-like, aren't they?
They're almost like actually I suppose stereotypically German team. Do you know what I mean? It is very machine-like.
Systemic.
Yes,
yeah.
very much so. But Liverpool have a lot more like. I don't know. There's a lot more fire.
Well, there's fewer goals where it's just like getting the boss, cut it back with a low quick cross. Guerrero's tapped it in. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.